Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihare Hare Krishna. Gopichana Ballabha Girivardhare Yasodanandana Rajatana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupat Paramahamsa Vrakacharya Sadagara Shishimara Bhakti Vedanta Sai Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Iskon Samsapakacharya Prabhupada Ki Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Thakur Ki Jai Prem Saga Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasa Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navritam Ki Jai Gangamai Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktandi Ki Jai Gaura Pravanandi. All glories to the seven devotees, all glories to the seven devotees, all glories to the seven devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Gauranga, all glories to Shri Prabhupada. Welcher Vers war das noch?
67.
64. Namo Vishwabhadaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachale Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtatyali Satarine. So we continue with the Transcendental Diary by Hari Sauri Prabhu. So Srila Prabhupada is still in Vrindavan. It's coming to an end here. I was still curious as to what the League of Devotees actually was. Was that some god brothers that you joined up with, or was that just ... No. After leaving Gyansi, I went to this god brother, he said, pointing to the photo of Keshava Maharaj. I lived there for a few months. Then I went to another god brother, that Imritala, Delhi. Then I left there and I used to live alone in Delhi. This we already read yesterday. Prabhupada answered one letter today from Madhava Prabhu, one of our scientists who's living at the Boston Temple. Madhava said that in trying to work out the details for the construction of the Vedic planetarium, they had run into many difficulties. He wondered if there were other books that could be read that give more details on the universe than the Bhagavatam. He had a number of technical questions and pointed out that the fifth canto description seemed to be at wide variance with modern astronomical observance. He asked if Bharatavarsha referred to just India in the whole, on the whole earth. He asked if Bharatavarsha referred to just India or the whole earth. According to the calculation, this section of Jambudvip measures 72,000 miles, which is much too long for India. It is there, it is three times larger than the earth is around. Also in text 5.17.11, it mentions that the other 8 varshas are meant for highly elevated pious persons, so they cannot be the other continents of America, Europe, etc. They are all filled with demons. How can we understand that other tract of land on the other side of the Himalayas, Kim Purusha, to be Russia? He included a diagram he had drawn, which, if it was a correct interpretation of the Bhagavatam, seemed to indicate that the earth was flat. I do not accept anything the scientists say and fully accept the Bhagavatam statement as true, but I do not know how to explain the differences between the modern view and the Bhagavatam. If the specific errors in the modern view could be pointed out, then it would be very it would be very convincing for the karmis. Is there something wrong with the modern conception of space and time that creates such great discrepancies with the Srimad Bhagavatam's view? I am simply a blind man who cannot see unless you instruct me. I do not even know if it is all right to ask you so many technical questions. Please tell me if this is proper or not. I have no other shelter but your lotus feet in the whole universe. Madhava added that he Swarup Damodar and Sadaputa Prabhus were working to complete the book Origins of Life and Matter, as well as their journal work on the planetarium, were, would not commence until these are finished. Srila Prabhupada replied, affirming the statement of the Bhagavatam, but he didn't comment on the technical queries that Madhava had listed. Regarding details of the universe, be satisfied by reading only Bhagavatam. What is the use of reading other books? You are not going there. Some portion of the earth is flat. When you stand on any place, you see flat. So for us, to some extent, it appears that, but it is round. Yeah, this conception of the earth being flat. There's many people who believe that the earth is actually flat. But we just heard from Prabhupada that it's not. The earth is round. Hmm? So there's a definite statement when Prabhupada concludes that the earth is round. So we depend on our knowledge on Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. The Shastra is the basis, the Acharyas, the Sampradaya Acharyas, the Sadhus, great personalities in our tradition, and the Guru. And Guru never speaks anything which is not be heard by from the Acharyas, nor from Shastra. Any questions regarding this? Entschuldigung, dass ich schon wieder Englisch spreche, aber irgendwelche Fragen dazu? You understand?
English, yes.
Okay. What do you speak?
Deutsch.
Ah, Deutsch.
Deutsch.
Russisch und Deutsch.
Yeah.
Super. No questions? So we continue with the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Kannst du mal hier das reinmachen? Das ist ein bisschen kompliziert.
Ich habe eine Frage.
Ha? Ja?
Also der hat jetzt ja gar keine Details gesagt. Er hat gesagt, wir sollen uns einzig und allein auf die Shastra.
Ja.
Einer fragt, wie mit dem Plan. Er hat ja die Frage gestellt, da ging es ja schon um das Planetarium, ne, was jetzt.
Ja.
Und er sagt, er hatte so viele Probleme, weil das irgendwie nicht zusammengepasst hat.
Ja, ja.
Und
He had technical questions, like it says here.
das heißt, das kann man, also wenn das einer fragt, dann gehen wir gar nicht drauf ein.
Ich bin sicher, dass die gut vorbereitet sind in meiner Fall. Dass sie da antworten können auf solche Fragen. Weil die haben das im Grunde lange, lange untersucht. Ich kann mich erinnern, zu der Zeit war Harikesh Prabhupads Assistant oder Servant. Und Harikesh hatte auch viele Fragen an Prabhupada. Und dann hat er uns erzählt, dass da kam er irgendwie, Prabhupada kam zu dem Schluss, I don't know. Wie sagt man? Ne? Ask somewhere else. So die haben die angefangen, in Indien Experten zu suchen, die so ein bisschen mehr into dieses Thema sind. Wie sagt man Deutsch? Ne? Ja, ja. Und ich weiß nicht, was daraus bei rausgekommen ist, aber man kann vielleicht mal Harikesh noch fragen, der ist ja wieder da. Ne? Okay, ist das okay, die Antwort? Ja, da waren einige Persönlichkeiten, die Sie gefragt haben. Und ich kann mich erinnern, da wurden auch die Kommentare von den Leuten wurden auch veröffentlicht. Ich weiß nicht, wahrscheinlich kaum jemand gelesen, aber die waren, das war veröffentlicht worden. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chanda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chanda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Bhaktavinda. Jaya Jaya Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. So, wir lesen weiter aus dem Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, 7. Kapitel, 64. Vers. Tomara Sangira Gyokya Tenro Eka Jana. Vidvite Rasika Bhakta Nahitan Rasama. Tomara Sangira Yogya Tenro Eka Jana. Vivite Rasika Bhakta Nahitan Rasama.
Tomara Sangera Yongya Tenha Ekajana.
Tomara Sangera Yogya Tenha Ekajana.
Vikivita Rasika Bhakta Nahitandra Sama.
Vivite Sasika Bhakta Nahitan Rasama.
Tumhara sangera yogi aten ho ekajana.
Tamara Sangera Yogya Tenha Ekajana.
Viti vite trasika bhakta nahi tanra sama.
Vivite Rasika Bhakta Nahitan Rasama.
Mara Sangera Yogya Temho Ekajana.
Tomara Sangha Yogya Tenha Ekajana.
Prithivite Rasika Bhakta Nahitan Rasama.
Prihivite Rasika Bhakta Nahitan Rasama. Tomara Sangera Yogya Tenha Ekajana. Prihivite Rasika Bhakta Nahitan Rasama. Tomara Sangera Yogya Tenha Ekajana. Prihivite Rasika Bhakta Nahitan Rasama. Tomara your Sangera of association. Yogya fit. Tenho he. Ramananda Roy. Eka one. Jana person. Prihivite in the world. Rasika expert in transcendental mellows. Bhakta devotee. Nahi there is none. Tandrasama like him. Translation. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya continued, Ramananda Roy is a fit person to associate with you. No other devotee can compare with him in knowledge of the transcendental mellows. There's no purport, so we continue. Panditya ara bhakti rasa dunhera tenho sima sambasira jani betumi tanhara mahima. He is the most learned scholar as well as an expert in devotional mellows. Actually, he's most exalted, and if you talk with him, you will see how glorious he is. Next verse. Alaukika vakya chesta tandrana buddhiya parihasa karya chitandre vaishnava valiya. I could not realize when I first spoke with Ramananda Roy that his topics and endeavors were all transcendentally uncommon. I made fun of him simply because he was a Vaishnava. Purport, Vaishnava Prabhupada. Anyone who is not a Vaishnava or an unalloyed devotee of the Supreme Lord must be a materialist. A Vaishnava living according to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's injunctions is certainly not on the material platform. Chaitanya means spiritual force. All of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities were carried out on the platform of spiritual understanding. Therefore, only those who are on the spiritual platform are able to understand the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Materialistic persons cannot understand these activities and are generally known as karmis or jnanis. The jnanis are mental speculators who simply try to understand what is spirit and what is matter. Their process is neti neti. This is not spirit, this is not Brahman. The jnanis are little more advanced than the dull-headed karmis, who are simply interested in sense gratification. Before becoming a Vaishnava, Samabhavacharya was a mental speculator, jnani, and being such, he always cut jokes with Vaishnavas. A Vaishnava never agrees with the speculative system of the jnanis. Both the jnanis and karmis depend on direct sense perception for their imperfect knowledge. The karmis never agree to accept anything not directly perceived, and the jnanis put forth only hypotheses. However, the Vaishnavas, the unalloyed devotees of the Lord, do not follow the process of acquiring knowledge by direct sense perception or mental speculation. Because they are servants of the Supreme Lord, devotees receive knowledge directly from the Supreme Person of Godhead, as he speaks in the Bhagavad Gita, or sometimes as he imparts it from within, as a Chaitya Guru. As Lord Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Tesham satadayuktanam bhajatam piripurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mupayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. The Vedas are considered to have been spoken by the Supreme Lord. They were first realized by Brahma, who is the first created being within the universe. Tinne Brahmadidaya Dikabaye. Our process is to receive knowledge from the Parampara system, from Krishna to Brahma to Narada, Vyasa, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the six Goswamis. By the cyclic succession, Lord Brahma was enlightened from within by the original person, Krishna. Our knowledge is fully perfect due to being handed from master to disciple. A Vaishnava is always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and thus neither karmis nor jnanis can understand the activities of the Vaishnavas. It is said, Vaishnaveda kriyamudra vigyahana bhujaya. Even the most learned man, depending on direct perception of knowledge, cannot understand the activities of a Vaishnava. After being initiated into Vaishnavism by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma realized what a mistake he had made in trying to understand Ramananda Roy, who was very learned and whose endeavors were all directed to rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord. So this is a long purport that Srila Prabhupada gives here. It's all connected with Ramananda Roy. It says here Ramananda Raya, but actually Prabhupada used to say Ramananda Roy. So, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was leaving from Puri, he was accompanied by Sarvabhaumacharya. And Sarvabhaumacharya, like Prabhupada mentioned here in the purport, had been a jnani. He had speculated. And Prabhupada mentions here, the system is a neti, neti, neti. No, not this, not this, not this is Brahman. But in this way, Prabhupada said that they don't come to a real conclusion, perfect conclusion. No, they can only realize the impersonal Brahman, Prabhupada sometimes said that the Brahman is like the margin, between the material and spiritual. And it's still selfish. They're interested in their own liberation, their own benefit. No, but so Ramananda Sarvadacharya, he had actually when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Puri, Sarvadacharya had been in the temple when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered. And Sarvadacharya immediately became attracted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He had never seen a sannyasi so beautiful and young. And he followed him. He saw him until he came to the altar. And in front of the altar, he dismayed. How is it in English? No. He became unconscious. He fell to the ground. And immediately the police or the guards came, because they thought, well, this person is sleeping in front of the altar. What is this? So they wanted to grab him and throw him out, get him out of the temple. But then Sarvadacharya came. And because he was a very important person at the temple, he was a very famous scholar, and it says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, people would come from all over India to study under him. He was famous all over. So he had people carrying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's home, because he had heard about this. Sometimes great personalities spiritually become, how you say, unconscious, or they start crying, or they raise, how you say, the pillow, not pillow Spanish, the hairs stand up and all that. So he took him home to study him from how you say, study him directly, have an object to study. And then he wasn't sure if he was breathing anymore. No, he still got some cotton and put it in front of the, how you say, in front of the nose, and he noticed that he was breathing very, very slowly. So he noticed that actually he was still alive. But when he came to that conclusion, he didn't know what to do more, what else to do. And in the meantime, the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left them. He became, how you say, disturbed, because he had just taken sannyas. He was traveling with the danda, with the sannyas danda. And Nityananda wasn't at all, I say, he didn't like that he had taken sannyas. No, he didn't think that it was necessary for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to follow these, these principles anymore. He was beyond these principles. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had expressed his desire to take a bath, and he entrusted the danda to Nityananda. And when he came back, the danda wasn't anymore. Nityananda had grabbed the danda and broken it in pieces and thrown him to the river. So when he saw that, he decided to leave his group. He didn't want to travel with them anymore, and he started traveling alone. In this way, he came to Puri. Yeah. And so when they arrived in Puri, they noticed that the topic of conversation was everyone was speaking about this beautiful sannyasi who had fallen to the floor in the temple. And so he also got to know that Sarvabhaudacharya had taken him to his home. Immediately devotees went, because they had experience with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic symptoms like that. And they knew how to bring him back to external consciousness by having a kirtan. So when they arrived at the home of Sarvabhaudacharya, they made a heavy kirtan, heavy metal kirtan. No? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back to external consciousness. And so Sarvabhaudacharya, it's mentioned that he actually had felt a lot of compassion with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he saw that this sannyasi was so beautiful and young, he thought that this sannyasi would have a lot of problems. So he felt inspired to teach him, teach the Vedanta Sutra. So I invited to, he asked him if he would teach him, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted. Then it says Sarvabhaumacharya offered him an elevated seat because he was a sannyasi, and Sarvabhaumacharya would sit a little lower, lower, no, lower, yeah. Soll ich Deutsch oder Englisch machen? Anyway, so he started, teaching him, and he was speaking and speaking for how many days? 7 days, no? 7 days. And in the end, he couldn't figure out what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was thinking or whatever. So he asked him, "Did you understand anything? I've been speaking to you now for 7 days. You have any questions?" And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said something interesting. He said, "Actually, the Vedanta Sutra, I know the Vedanta Sutra. The Vedanta Sutra is like the sun, and your explanations are like the clouds covering the sun." Anyway, so when Sarvabhaumacharya heard that, he never heard that from one of his disciples. So he immediately turned around and said, "Okay, let's hear your interpretation, your explanation." And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started speaking, the Sarvabhaumacharya came. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. It was so incredible. And he came to the conclusion that this must be the original author of the Vedanta Sutra. And then he fell at his feet, and became, he became overwhelmed with ecstasy with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yeah, and he started. I mean, he composed 100 verses. Immediately 100 verses. He was a big, how you say, scholar. He composed all these verses in Sanskrit, 100 verses. And now here, we're hearing how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was leaving Puri, accompanied by Sarvabhaumacharya. And the purport power mentions Ramananda Roy. And it's interesting, Sarvabhaumacharya, as a jnani, it says here, he made jokes about Ramananda Roy. He thought this was completely off. That he's crying and manifesting all kinds of symptoms, like ecstatic symptoms. And he thought this was completely sentimental. But then when he had associated with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he realized, there's another great personality here. And he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he told him about Ramananda Roy, and he asked him, please, be merciful. Go and see Ramananda Roy also. Yeah, and well, this is, I guess it comes now here, because he just started for the south. Yeah, there's a place, what is that river? I don't remember the name. You know the name of the river where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Ramananda Roy?
Kaveri.
No. I don't remember. I have a disciple with the same name and I don't remember. Anyway, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to that river. We went there once. There's a temple of the Gaudiya Math. And there was no ISKCON temple, so we went to that temple. And they started speaking to us. And then they gave us very nice prasad also. Anyway, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down. I mean, he took his bath. And then he meditating on Krishna or chanting, whatever he did. And then all of a sudden saw a procession. Far away, he saw a procession coming down to the river. Godavari, that's a river name. Anyway, so, or the Godavari. Yeah. Anyway, so he saw a procession. And by the symbols, especially by the the flags they had, and also the Shem, what is that? No? Shem, above the person he could recognize. It was a very important person, the government. No, because Ramananda was I say, I don't say in English, like huh? Yeah, he was very important. He presented of the government, Padaparuta, anyway. So, and no, so he all of a sudden Ramananda Roy saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No, so he immediately felt attracted to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he came. They brought him in front of him. No, then he came down from the palanquin. How you say the palanquin? No? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced him. No? And the problem was there were some Brahmins, no, and they were chanting mantras and chanting, this and that, accompanying Ramananda Roy. And there were, what is the expression now? Anyway, Brahmanas, very learned in Shastra, but are not devotees. What is that? That's a special term. Huh? Smarta, yeah, smarta. They were smartas. No? So when they saw that the politician was embracing, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they thought this was something wrong, because normally, sannyasis don't associate with government people or rich people like that. Anyway, so when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu noticed that they were skeptical, he became formal. How you say, no? Formal. No? And Ramananda Roy also. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Roy to come to talk to him at night when there was nobody else. Anyway, so this is story. There's many more details you will hear in the same chapter here about the meeting of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with Ramananda Roy. But Samabha Bhattacharya became, like we mentioned, he became a devotee. And he became a very important devotee. He was a great scholar. He composed many verses. I mentioned this the other time when I gave the class. He made this verse, Vidya, what was that? You helped me with this verse last time. Vairagya Vidanita Bhakti Yoga, Shikshat Pamartha Purusha Punan, Chaitanya Shariradari, Kriham Mudiyaham Papadye. So this is a very nice verse. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramananda, what am I saying? Samadacharya. No, he composed this verse. Describing the real, how you say, the special person of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he actually came to teach knowledge and real detachment. How? Vairagya Vid. Vairagya Vid. And this is actually a very important point. Real knowledge, like it's mentioned in the purport here, is knowledge. There's two terms, arodhapanta, avarodhapanta, which means it refers to ascending knowledge and descending knowledge. Ascending knowledge is the knowledge that we accept as knowledge nowadays in the materialistic society, scientists, philosophers, whatever, intellectuals. This is based on our limited senses, and in this way the knowledge will never be complete, never be perfect. And avarodhapanta, descending knowledge, which comes down, like Paul mentioned, through the disciplic succession, and starts with the Supreme Personality of God, with Krishna. There's another verse, Nunam pramatya kurute vikarma yarindriya pariyaya na sarvamanyate Mahatma, I don't remember the whole verse, says that after many, many births, when one receives real knowledge, he surrenders to Krishna, knowing Krishna to be the cause of all causes, Vasudeva, the cause of all causes. And such a great soul is very rarely seen. Yes. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarvadacharya mentioned, they speak about the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or the real symptoms, of spiritual progress. That automatically knowledge, like Prabhupada mentions here, Krishna is within the heart. Sarvasya chaham ridi sanivishto smiti jnanam apahanam cha. Krishna, it's a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, 15:15. That says Krishna is within the heart, and from him comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. And then the verse continues. Vedaishchavairaham eva vedya vedanta krit veda videva chaham. Krishna says that I'm known by the Vedic knowledge. All Vedic knowledge actually is meant to an ultimate instance to understand Krishna. Yes. And Krishna says, I'm the compiler of the Vedanta and the knower of the Vedas. Just like we talking about Acharya came also to the conclusion that actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the original composer of the Vedanta Sutra. And all the Vedas culminate in our complete surrender to the Supreme Personality of God. And when one surrenders to the Supreme Personality of God, automatically one becomes attached from all these material things. This is the real. Remember the verse that you read this morning? Hey, you read this verse to me this morning. With the Param Drishtwani Vartante, I remember how it starts. Krishna says one can renounce things. Vishaya Vishiva. Give it complete. Param Drishtwani Vartante. One can only give up the lower taste if one reaches the higher taste. And unless there's a higher taste, all kinds of renunciation is incomplete. There's a verse, Nye Nye Ravindaksha Vimuktamani Tvayakshamanuya Arudya Keshena Param Param Vatandyada Yoyoshmarangrayaha. This is a very nice verse. It's mentioned there that sometimes these impersonalist things, that they are liberated. But because the intelligence is not completely purified, they become again attracted to activities on the material platform. So their intelligence is not complete, and in this way they don't surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord. They become attracted again to activities on the material platform. So unless one starts acting on the spiritual platform in bhakti, in service and devotional service, bhakti mabhijananti yavanaschasmita tatoma tatvadan yatvamam shadu. So this is a verse, very important verse. I think it's the 55th verse of the 18th chapter. I don't remember exactly. Where Krishna says, one can only understand me by devotional service. The only way to understand Krishna is by devotional service. And we're actually very fortunate. Like I mentioned the other day, we're very fortunate that Prabhupada introduced us directly to devotional service. The verse I quoted, it says that after many, many births, one achieves this knowledge. Whereas we were very, very fortunate because Prabhupada taught us directly devotional service, starting with the chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the secret of success. this Yuga Dharma, this chanting of the holy names. And not only the chanting of Prabhupada not only gave us this process of Bhagavad Vidhi, no, but also he gave us the worship of the deities, which was actually the Yuga Dharma of the former Yuga. Yeah. No, in Dwapara Yuga, the big temples were constructed, big worship, big deity worship, very opulent. And I remember Prabhupada mentioned once that we shouldn't put jewels and gold, and valuable metals and this on the deities, because in this age it will only attract thieves. Yeah. But in Dwapara Yuga, this was very common. The temples were very rich. I heard there was some time ago. I heard that they discovered in some temple in India. They opened some kind of some door that was always closed, and they went in to the temple in I say keller. What is keller?
Basement.
The basement, and discovered so many jewels and gold and all this. That had some of the temples in India. They actually came from that former. They're still there from the former Yuga. Yes. So this is Prabhupada taught. Actually, Prabhupada also started from the very beginning. Prabhupada installed deities. Like in Hamburg, for example. In Hamburg, the first temple in Germany. Prabhupada had come, and he started talking that we should have the deities also. At that time, Prabhupada was traveling with his deities, Radha Krishna deities. He had the deities in his room. Actually, when we went into Prabhupada's room, Prabhupada had just arrived. Prabhupada sat on the bed and is playing harmonium. Kiva Jaya, Jaya Gaura. Prabhupada was singing this melody. And Purushottam, his servant, had put the deities in the cupboard, in the Schrank, Wandschrank, what is that? Wandschrank. And he was doing arti. The first time we saw arti, actually. I mean, us, the German Bhaktas. First time we saw an arti. And so when Prabhupada left, because the devotees in England, they were pressing Prabhupada to come, because they had become so famous in London. So Prabhupada went, and Vishwadev asked me once, some years back, he asked me if I could, how I say, herausfinden, what is that in English? Yeah, how I can find, if I could find out the story of the deities, where these deities came, where now and they're in Abenteuer. And so one devotee informed me that actually these deities had been given as a donation to Srila Prabhupada in London at that time. And Prabhupada had taught Yamuna how to paint these deities. And then Prabhupada sent these deities and asked Yamuna and Tama Krishna to install these deities on the altar. So from the very beginning we had deities also in Hamburg, even though they're very small, but they were there from the beginning. And also sometimes Prabhupada had installed deities, and Prabhupada had prayed to the deities, please, excuse all the, incompetence of my disciples in serving you. Yeah. Of course, after that, the standard was raising more and more, raised more and more and more. Yeah. Now we have a minister of deity worship, and he's traveling, visiting all the temples that have important deities. See that they're maintaining the standard. I don't remember his name. I heard he also came to Abenteuer.
Yes, Sudarshan Chakra,
Huh?
something with chakra, I think. Sudarshan
The Singha Kavacha. Thank you. He's from Australia. Anyway, so yeah, he was also there when they celebrated the 50 years of the 50, no, 50, 50 years of the installation of the deity. Yeah. Anyway, so now actually our deity worship here in this temple is pretty simple. You might think that this is well, very impressive and this and that, but actually it's not a standard. Like normally the deities are dressed every day, changing their clothes. Here only once a week, and also only brahmanas are supposed to do the puja here. Devotees who are not even to receive the second initiation, they because there are not enough devotees to worship the deity. Yeah. And I think next Sunday, we have a festival here celebrating the how many years? 25? 29 Jahre. The 29 years of the installation of the deity. Yeah. And these deities were also not installed with ceremony and all that. Yeah. I remember his name, my godbrother, Swiss devotee. He came at a visit. He was one of the very topmost Sankirtan devotees. And when he heard that the deities were in boxes here, he had them taken out and installed them, without any of these, many rituals and all that. Anyway, this is something interesting also. We were, when the deities were installed in Vrindavan, we were also there. And then there was a big ceremony, many sacrificial fires and all that. They had invited important brahmanas from Vrindavan to execute the whole ceremony. And then when in the end, there was when Prabhupada came down, and the devotees all wanted to hear from Srila Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada first, there was also a minister, I remember, anyway, from the government. And Prabhupada had him speak first. And somebody else, I don't remember. And then Prabhupada spoke. And when Prabhupada started speaking, one of the things he said, actually, we could have installed these deities simply chanting Hare Krishna. But for the people, especially in Vrindavan, to take the deities serious, or our movement serious, Prabhupada had invited all these prestigious brahmanas to carry out the ceremony. Yeah. And Prabhupada also mentioned in one purport in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this incident. Right? Anyway, so shall we continue reading a little more of the Chaitanya Charitamrita? That's what's actually supposed to be. Chaitanya Charitamrita, we should read and read, continue. Otherwise, we will never finish. So, this is verse 67. Tomara prasareve janinu tandra tattva sambhasine janivi tandra yemana mahatva. The Bhattacharya said, by your mercy I can now understand the truth about Ramananda Roy. In talking with him, you also will acknowledge his greatness. Agikara kari prabhu tanhara vachana tandre vidaya dite tandre kaira alingana. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's request that he meet Ramananda Roy. Bidding Sarvabhauma farewell, the Lord embraced him. Kare Krishna Bhaji Mora Karira Asivade Nilachale Asigena Tomara Prasade. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked the Bhattacharya to bless him while he engaged in devotional service. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked the Bhattacharya to bless him while he engaged in the devotional service of Lord Krishna at home, so that by Sarvabhauma as mercy the Lord could return to Jagannath Puri. Purport. The word Kariha Ashirvade means continue to bestow your blessings upon me. Being a sannyasi, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in the fourth order of life and was thus due all respect and adoration, whereas Samabhadacharya, as a householder, was in the second order. The sannyasi is supposed to offer blessings to a grihastha, yet now, by his practical behavior, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested the blessings of the grihastha. This incident shows the special significance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's preaching. He gave equal status to everyone, regardless of material considerations. His movement is thoroughly spiritual. Although apparently a grihastha householder, Samabhadacharya was unlike the so-called karmis interested in sense gratification. After being initiated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Bhattacharya was perfectly situated in the spiritual order. Therefore, it was quite possible for him to offer blessings even to a sannyasi. He was always engaged in the service of the Lord, even at home. In our disciplic line, we have the example of a perfect householder, Paramahansa, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. In his book Saranagati, Bhaktivinoda Thakur states, Ye dina grihe bhajana deki, grihete golokavaya. Saranagati 31:6. Whenever a householder glorifies the Supreme Lord in his home, his activities are immediately transformed into the activities of Goloka Vrindavan. Spiritual activities taking place in the Goloka Vrindavan planet of Krishna. Activities exhibited by Krishna himself as the Bhauma Vrindavan, the Vrindavan Dham existing on this planet, are not different from the activities of the planet Goloka Vrindavan. This is proper realization of Vrindavan anywhere. In our Krishna conscious movement, we inaugurated the new Vrindavan activities, wherein devotees are always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. And this is not different from Goloka Vrindavan. The conclusion is that one who acts strictly in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is competent to offer blessings to sannyasis, even though he be a grihastha householder. Although he is in an exalted position, a sannyasi still must elevate himself to the transcendental platform by rendering service to the Lord. By his actual behavior, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begged the blessings of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. In this way, he set the example of how one should expect blessings from a Vaishnava regardless of his social position. Yeah, Vaishnava is topmost platform. And that's why here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving the example of the importance of the blessings of Vaishnavas, real Vaishnavas. Yeah? So, but Vaishnava also means that he should be decorated with the qualities of a Vaishnava, which are described very, I think, in detail in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Okay. Oh, we still have a little time. Any questions? Yeah?
Rachel, I have just one question to clarify. There's one book, it's called Gauradesh. There's sometimes like this person is this person in Gaura Lila.
Yeah. I have it in my library.
Yes, and this person is this in Krishna Lila. So what about for example, devotees now practicing on a very high stage?
Sorry, what is it?
Devotees who are on a very high stage.
Yeah.
They also can be in Gaura Lila and Krishna Lila, or it's like which one is like how is this?
Which devotees you're referring to?
No, I'm just in general devotees who are very very elevated like yourself.
No. That's why I'm asking.
I was just wondering if the devotees are also in Gauradesh and Krishna Lila, like the ones mentioned in this book.
I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I don't want to cheat you. I don't know.
And another question was like,
Maybe you know.
The books he's referring to are two of them.
Sorry?
The books he is referring to, there are two of them.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. Radha Krishna Gauradesh Deepika and Gaur Gauradesh Deepika.
Oh.
And Gauradesh means the associates. And Deepika means putting the spiritual light above their spiritual form. And it is in the Gaur Gauradesh Deepika where it describes which personality as an associate of Mahaprabhu, who he is in Krishna Lila.
Yeah.
So it is like
Who's who? Yeah.
who's who.
Yeah.
So it is like that, what you're saying. But it requires equal bhav, equal ecstatic love for both these pastimes. If something is lacking, you might have only one form in Gauri or in Krishna Lila. But if equal, then it is like that.
Anyway, in the beginning, Prabhupada sometimes commented that his first assistants, had been devotees before, in previous lives. I don't remember Prabhupada elaborating on this further. Yeah, actually, now Prabhupada also mentioned, I don't remember where, I think in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that one cannot become a devotee unless one has already had some contact before. Yes.
What should you do when your sannyas danda is broken?
Get a new one. I used to carry danda also. But then, were you there when I told the story? No, I was in Colombia. I was flying from Bogota to Medellin. And normally they didn't care about the danda, But in that special airport, they took it from me by force. And when they gave it back to me, it was broken in 3 pieces. And since that, I'm not taking the danda on trips anymore. I know some sannyasis, like, they have special dandas. You can fold them, kind of, and put in a small package. But I also heard, after a certain quantity of years, you're not supposed to keep the danda anymore. But I know some of my godbrothers, like Guru Prasad Maharaj, for example, when he's in Mayapur, he has always his danda there. I have also several dandas. I have one in Santiago, Chile. I have one in Uruguay, in Montevideo, in Uruguay. I have one in Buenos Aires, in Argentina. And I have 2 here. Oh, sorry. They ended up here. Yeah. And when you see the picture of Prabhupada with the danda, I think they have it here somewhere. No? Yeah. Actually, this danda is not Prabhupada's danda. You can see it from the size, because the danda is only supposed to be your height. Yeah. There's another photo here of Prabhupada in Schloss Rettershof. When he came to visit us in Germany. The devotees wanted to take a picture of Srila Prabhupada with a danda. And the only danda who was there was Satsvarup Maharaj. And it was also bigger than Prabhupada. Yeah. Yeah, when you take sannyas, you've given the sannyas danda. I took sannyas in Mayapur. And one devotee, actually sannyasi, godbrother of mine, I don't remember his name now, we were doing the danda together. Yeah. And sometimes, like in Chile, in South America, they're very, very strict on what you can take in the country and what not. Like, for example, sometimes when the devotees come with their japa mala, they say, this is wood. You cannot import wood here. And you have to give a big explanation. This is like a rosary. And, when you say rosary, Catholics know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Wasn't once the
Huh? Huh?
They allowed to take Rosenkranz, but they don't allow to take.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Which country?
We usually preach to them about the rosary. Yeah. And also a lot of things you can get into Chile, like fruit and dried fruit either. Yeah. I have a disciple who had a package of dates in his bag. They didn't let him in. And he couldn't enter for, I think, 2 years or something like that. They're very strict, very heavy there. Yeah. Anyway, so, any more?
What is the ritual or the culture of Danda? I see that you don't put it on the ground, you put it somewhere higher.
Why are you so much interested in that?
Danda started it. So.
Okay, yeah. Not supposed to touch the floor. Yeah. You're supposed to, when you pay obeisances, you're supposed to put the top of the danda on the floor first. Yeah. Because it's the body, mind, and like that. Yeah. And then also they have a little gun, the jiva. Yeah. Not only the senses, the mind, and the words like that, but also the jiva has to surrender to Krishna. Yeah, Harikesh gave me the danda. And there were a lot of devotees taking sannyas at that time. Devamrita Maharaj was one of them also. And yeah, there were a lot of initiations at that year. It was in 72. No, 82. What am I saying? 82. And then I came with a danda to Germany and they could really, what? Because, like I mentioned the other day, nobody is a prophet in his own country. Niemand ist Prophet in seinem eigenen Land. But Harikesh thought that in South America, in Latin America, there's a lot of classes. How you say this? Yeah? There's a lot of, like the devotees also. They don't say two. They say you. No, Z. No? Yeah. In South America, never a devotee, how you say, said you and do. No? Always Z. The Russian devotees have also this custom, wasn't it? Yeah. And so, anyway, so for preaching, like Prabhupada mentioned also when he was associated with Keshava Maharaj, his godbrothers, and his godbrother was encouraging him to go into the West. And so, but he told Prabhupada, if you're going to go to the West, you travel all the world, you have to take sannyas. Yeah. Because when you take sannyasas, there's a lot of facilities you get. People give you donations, they give you a special room, they care about your diet, they wash your clothes. Yeah. Before I was doing that all for myself. But then Harikesh changed it. And they also pay the how you say the tickets, like that. If you're not a sannyasi, you have to pay it for yourself. Well, anything else?
I'm still wondering about that sannyas, that little moon, that little jiva. You see, sannyasis traditionally used to have this begging cloth. It's actually a cloth which they tie into a certain kind of a bag and used to carry it on the stick. Is it tradition also among Vaishnavas or is it only
the bag? You mean the bag?
To hang it on the
Yeah. Actually, when I took sannyas, I was told that when you go to the temple, you have to take it out of the bag. Yeah. When you go to the temple, you have to take it out of the bag. But this is not something that is strictly followed. One of my godbrothers, Hanumat Prasad, you know him? Hanumat Prasad? He always takes half of the bag down when he goes into the temple. Have you done that? You saw him doing that?
Not that detailed.
Yeah.
And this some sannyasis have a flag on it. Vijay is not that. What is it? Is it
I don't know.
a little flag on it?
I don't know. Sorry. You had a question.
Maharaj, how to develop a spiritual intelligence?
By surrendering to your spiritual master, to Krishna. Like we just heard, no? Krishna within the heart, he gives you the intelligence, the necessary intelligence. Yeah. And we need a lot of intelligence for our devotional service, our spiritual life. Yeah. And the spiritual master is supposed to be the external, no? Or the representative of the Paramatma, the external. No? Just like I heard an example once, that let's say the mother, is trying to educate the child, and but the child is just looking out the window, and he's calling the child to eat, to eat, and the child is so absorbed with what's happening outside the window. So the mother goes out and eating, come and eat. The same way, Krishna is within your heart, but it says that the spiritual master is the external representation of the Paramahatma. Because we're so directed to the external world, spiritual master comes from out, from out. Yeah. From außen. Yeah. So, we passed time already. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj ki
Srila Prabhupada ki